Hey everybody, I am here with St1ka. How you doing?
Hey everyone, and I'm pretty good, man. How are you?
Excellent. So, cheers. Having myself a beer.
I only have water. Sorry.
Good enough. Drink them if you got them. So, I've been following your channel for quite a while. I really enjoyed some of your interviews,
Thank you.
your reviews and stuff like that. But for people who aren't familiar with your work, would you mind just introducing yourself and giving people a rundown of what it is that you do?
Well, I have a channel called St1ka's Retro Corner. I'm from Portugal, hence the very odd accent. Um, I tend to do a lot of retro reviews, a few developer interviews. I like creating some documentaries focusing on either Portuguese or gaming or Brazilian gaming history. And I also like to focus on new games being released for old consoles. Like the Sega Genesis has been receiving a lot of new games recently, and I've been trying to review as many of them as I can. So that's pretty much what I tend to do for my channel.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much how I would describe it as well. Lots of good stuff up there. I watched the Master System games one. I thought was really interesting because I've always been a
Thank
fan of
you.
the console, and I grew up in an area where nobody had a Master System. Just one family from California moved kind of near me, and the I think I've told this before, but the oldest son was just a little older than me, and he was one of those
Yeah.
natural born salesmen. And when he wanted to get a Genesis, he convinced me that the Master System was the greatest thing ever. And I got it home, and I gotta say, playing Space Harrier 3D on my silly TV at my grandparents' house was amazing. So I think he thought he pulled one over on me, but I was very happy with the purchase. So
Funny thing you should say that because the Master System is part of the reason why I made this channel. See, I've been following a lot of YouTube channels since, I don't know, maybe The Angry Video Game Nerd back in 2007, like way back in the first years of YouTube. And one thing that's always kind of bothered me was that a lot of consoles or systems that were popular in my country or in Europe, they were rarely ever talked about from English-speaking countries, not just United States, but United Kingdom, Australia, whatever. And whenever the Master System was brought up, it always received that sort of treatment, which was like, oh, it's like the NES, but not as good. Oh, this game, yeah, it's like that game for the NES, but not as good. And and I don't know, it just never seemed fair to me. So I tried doing a lot of Master System reviews or videos because I think it's a great system, a very underrated system. But unfortunately, in the United States, we were kind of unlucky because the console only received like half of its library when compared to Europe. So sadly, you guys did miss out on a lot of games.
yeah, and when I was getting back into this, when I started
Hmm.
RetroRGB, one of the first things I bought was another Master System. I had at one
Hmm.
point sold everything that I had, so I didn't have any of my originals. But of course, I had to hunt down some of the 3D games and the Sonic games.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
realize when I was a kid that those Sonic games that I was playing on my Game Gear, most of them at least, were available as Master System games as well.
Hmm.
And there are slight differences of each. There's a few people that made patches to kind of mix and match the assets and stuff, but overall, they're pretty good games. I mean, it's not at all what you would consider an 8-bit Sonic to be like, because at least myself, looking back, I would have thought that Sega would have just kind of tried to port the Genesis version as quickly as possible to get
Hmm.
sales, but they're completely unique games. And I don't. Do you know if they were designed for the Game Gear and ported to the Master System?
I think it depends on the game. As far as I know, Sonic 1 was made for the Master System. 2 and the other one's called Chaos. Chaos, I'm pretty sure the Game Gear was the main development system. Sonic 2, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not. I don't think it's really known which one was the main system for that one.
Hmm.
Um, what I find interesting about the first Sonic game is that, if I'm not mistaken, the developer behind it was Ancient, the same studio behind Streets of Rage 2, in fact. Um, and not a lot of people know that. I think even Yuzo Koshiro did the soundtrack for the Master System version of Sonic 1,
Oh, really?
which is, I think it's either him or a family member of him, if I'm not mistaken. I know he was involved in the project in some way, at least.
Because I always found
And,
them enjoyable games, but I also felt that
mhm.
they looked right on the Game Gear. It's not like you were
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you were squinting trying to see it. Like sometimes when you do the opposite, like when you play games that were definitely designed to be played on the Master System on the Game Gear, everything seems proportionally correct. You could,
Basically, the way it works is the Master System games, the Sonic games for the Master System have a wider view lens, which is really noticeable in Sonic 2. Like the first boss in Sonic 2 is super easy on the Master System and super difficult on the Game Gear because you can't see enough. But the
interesting.
graphics tend to be a lot better on the Game Gear. Like if you put like the Green Hill Zone flowers on both 8-bit versions next to each other, you'll notice the Game Gear version is animated and it just looks better in my opinion.
Yeah, so I believe there were some people on the SMS Power forums a while back that tried to port
Mm-hmm.
some of the assets of the Game Gear version to the SMS
Mm-hmm.
version, so it would look better like that. But yeah, you're right, and I think a lot of those Game Gear to SMS patches involved tapping into that extra area and trying
Mm-hmm.
to move other assets around so that you could actually have a full 240p experience. And was it Tails Adventure? I think the
Oh, that game is
yeah, the
awesome.
person who did
I,
that did an amazing job doing the port for that, without a doubt.
I actually didn't know there was a Master System port of that game yet. I know there's been a lot of porting done for the Master System. Some of it's really impressive.
Yeah, most of them are just proof of concept, like, hey, we got it
Mm-hmm.
started. Anybody interested can now take it from here, type of thing. But I think it was Tails Adventure. I'm 99% sure. It's been a few years since I've played it. One interesting thing, though, is because the Game Gear had a higher color palette, they had to change
Mm-hmm.
the colors of the game for it to work correctly on the Master
Very common,
System.
yes.
And some levels are noticeably different. I mean, anybody who sees them side by side can tell, but
Mm-hmm.
some I genuinely feel it's maybe it's just my eyes because I tend to see colors weird, but
No, 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 no.
like
It is very noticeable.
yeah, and it's
But
something that I wish they had multiple choices. Like try this port color palette one, color palette two, and that way people could just choose whatever looks better to them at the time.
if you ever want to see a really impressive port for the Master System, somebody poured the first level of Musha for the Master System,
Oh, really?
and it looks really good. It looks really impressive, but it's a really difficult video to find. All I did is port the first level, and it was a Japanese developer, so typing in the right keywords to find it on YouTube is not easy, but it is out there.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, I'd like to see
It's
more
pretty good.
ports and stuff for the Master System that take advantage of
Hmm.
anything light gun games or 3D glasses related. I think are very very cool, and they're games that a lot of the games, at least the light gun games, you don't have to
Hmm.
sit down and play for an hour. You could just hang out for 5,
True.
10, 15 minutes and just have some quick fun. So I appreciate those for that, and I always loved Maze Hunter 3D. I thought it did a really
Oh, that game
great
is
job
awesome.
of the depth of that.
I actually have that for the 3DS, and playing it on 3DS with the 3D effect turned on, it looks so good.
Yeah,
It just looks so
they
amazing.
did a great job with that conversion.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. The thing is, I'd like to see more ports or more new games for the Master System, but as far as I know, there aren't that many tools for it. The few projects I've seen, they usually tend to use the Alex Kidd engine, the Alex Kidd in Miracle World. And the games are good. Like I've even reviewed Alex Kidd Miracle World 2,
Hmm.
which was a fan-made game released last
Yep.
year. And the game is good, but you never feel like it's pushing the hardware because it's based on one of the earlier Master System games. And it's cool for what it is. I like the game, but I really want to see developers try to push the hardware, like Xenocrisis for the Mega Drive or Sega Genesis. It does some impressive stuff with the hardware, for example.
Absolutely.
So I really want to see like new developers really try to push the Master System hardware.
Yeah, totally agreed. I like, I do appreciate. I mean, I guess, the blanket statement of I appreciate all new
Hmm.
games on older consoles. I
Oh,
think it's
agreed,
very
agreed.
cool, but I appreciate it more when people take the time to do unique things. Like Tanglewood, of
Mhm.
course. I thought that was just a
Oh, great
gorgeous
game.
game. It's not my favorite style of game, but I appreciated it for everything it was. I got to get back and finish that one. And the person who's doing, or I think it's almost completed, the port of Cave Story to the Genesis. That's
Oh,
very,
that's
very cool.
right.
That,
I want to play that.
yeah, there's a save game bug. I can't get it to save, and I've tweeted and emailed the creator and never got a response. So I don't know.
Um, you said Tanzer. The thing I find the most impressive about Tanzer is I don't know if you've reached this part, but halfway through the game you get an AI buddy, and the AI for your buddy character is better than it had any right to be on the Mega Drive. Like, I would not expect a 16-bit console to produce an AI buddy that good. Like, it knows what it has to do. It never gets in your way, which is really impressive. Consider I have PS3 games where I hate the AI on my friend characters, but this 16-bit game got it right. It's really impressive.
Yeah, I always like to see people go above and beyond to do that stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, a good game's a good game, period. Whether it's a
Exactly.
ROM hack or whether it's some, like, in a Atari 2600 style game on the Genesis, like, it doesn't really matter. A good game's a good game, but I do have a lot of appreciation for people to go the distance.
Agreed.
Soundtracks, the
Agreed.
graphics, all that stuff. So,
Plus, you get to see some unique stuff. There's a modern Mega Drive game, which you can select which version of the game you want to play. So you plug in the cartridge, and you can select between the Genesis version or the Commodore 64 version inside the Genesis, or the ZX Spectrum version, or EGA MS DOS version, or an MSX version, an Amstrad CPC version. Like, it goes the full length. You get to play the same game in 9 different styles on your Mega Drive, which is really impressive.
yeah, that's pretty neat. I always like that stuff. Now you've been reviewing a bunch of new games on old consoles for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna try to tread carefully about this one because I genuinely do not like drama. I mean, I love
I know
silly,
where this
stupid
is
drama.
going.
I love, like, WWE drama. I love it when my friends make fun of
I know
me.
where it's going.
That kind of drama makes me happy. Like when you get me, Jimmy Hoppa, and Yahel on a call together, and we just are brutal to each other. Like, that's the kind of drama that makes me smile, not real drama. But you had an interview with the CEO, owner, whatever you want to call it, of Peco Interactive, and
Yes.
I was so impressed with the interview. I mean, you always do a very good job making people feel comfortable. I mean, you're obviously doing it right now in this interview, but, like,
Thank you.
you have a way about yourself that makes people feel comfortable just opening up and talking. And I was kind of interested to see where that interview would go because, I was expecting, because you make things so comfortable, that the owner of that company would have eased into a narrative of, well, we're trying our best, and we keep trying to get better. And I was appalled at some of the things that actually
I
happened.
saw your video. Like, you did a weekly recap, and you talked about the interview.
Yeah.
I actually laughed
Yeah, and
at your
I hate watching those because I hate, you know, I guess this is a little bit on a personal note, but whenever I see somebody angry talking at a camera, like, it's in my nature to just lose all respect for them immediately. Like, I'm not a tough person as it is, but I'm certainly not a tough guy talking tough into a camera.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, if I wasn't honest about things, I would not be doing my job. If I was just
I
being
agree. I
happy, or
agree.
if I just didn't talk about it at all, and a bunch of people bought these games not knowing what to expect, so I gotta just take one for the team now and then, but I don't like watching myself when I have to do those drama-esque things, but I was just really surprised by that, and I am comfortable saying what I have been saying because anybody could go listen to your interview. That was not a hidden camera interview. That was some, he was willing to talk about it. I know Eli likes to throw some threats around now and then. I got a passive aggressive threat that he was going to have his friend who has a gaming magazine write a bad article about me. And
Jesus.
it was passive aggressive. So,
Okay.
in case he's
I
looking to
think I
file a
get it.
defamation suit against me, he didn't come out and say it, but he kind of, he made it very clear that he was going to try to make my life miserable if I didn't change a post. And I didn't. I was like, listen, I'll reword a few things because he was right. People could have interpreted some of the things I said their own way, which is a problem I have all the time. All the time. In my stupid brain, when it falls out of my face, it makes so much sense to me. And then one of my friends says, "Hey, what'd you mean by that?" And I go, "Oh, I didn't even consider somebody would have taken it that way." So he was totally right about that. I did absolutely word things wrong, and I changed those, but nothing else, because, like I said, you got to just tell the truth. And I think what he said, like, Well, even major publishers have misspellings and have artwork that's miscentered and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's not a false
Yeah,
statement, but as somebody who's trying to win people over, is that the attitude
yeah.
that you want to convey to people? Is just mediocrity is okay, but you could still pay top dollar?
Well, Pico is always a bit of a sensitive subject, and the thing is, I have a very close friend of mine, like a real life friend. We go game hunting together like once a week before this whole Corona business and social distancing. Um, and he's always asking me, why do you keep reviewing Pico games? Like, he watched my video and he's like, I love the Mega Drive, but why do you keep buying their? I mean, you're actually buying them yourself. They're not even sending the games to you. You're spending your own money. You're waiting months for the games to arrive because shipping from the US to Portugal takes a long time.
Yeah.
And they're expensive because yeah, they are like Switchblade was $50 plus shipping. So I basically paid full price for a game, $60 if not more. And the thing is, um, in theory, in concept, I like what they do, what they're trying to do, which is they're taking these. Originally, they were taking these Taiwan games, which I've always wanted to play, but they were in Chinese or Mandarin. Sorry, I didn't. Whatever.
I
Sorry,
believe it's Mandarin in
sorry.
Taiwan. It's okay.
Did not mean to be offensive to anyone. My
Nobody in
apologies.
Taiwan's gonna be offended by
Uh,
that. I basically lived there
um,
for on and off for 6 years.
okay.
No one's gonna be offended.
And basically they were putting it on a cartridge and releasing it physically. And from what they've said, I'm going to assume it's true. I have no reason to doubt them. They actually bought the rights to the game,
Mhm.
so it's an official release. I'm like, okay, I like that. That's a cool idea. The original development team or creators get a portion of the money because they sold the rights to it. Sounds good to me.
Sounds like a cool idea to me too. Yeah.
Exactly. But I do also get a lot of the issues because it's not cheap. It's expensive, and I've even gotten into a few fights over at Sega 16 on public forums with Eli. Eli is the CEO or founder of Pico Interactive over this because I do think the games are expensive. I do not like the art style he uses for the covers. I said this on pretty much every video I've made. I keep saying I don't like this art style.
Yeah, but that's a
To his
completely fair statement.
yeah
You could say
yeah
I like blue better than red. That's not criticizing the company. That's your opinion. So yeah.
to his credit, he actually took one of my advices to heart, which is having reversible covers. So if you don't like one style of art, you could have another.
That's pretty
I didn't
cool.
like either one of them. Sadly, I still didn't like either of them. I'm sorry, I didn't. I really them. It broke my heart saying that on video, but I did not like them. It really bothered me how the manuals they have spelling mistakes, but it often feels like the person who wrote them didn't really play the game either. Like it'll either mention wrong information or it's missing very important information, and it's always a bit of a bittersweet taste because I want to support the concept. I want to see more games. I love the Mega Drive. It's one of my favorite consoles. I want to see more games being released for it. I like that now they're expanding into porting Amiga games for the Mega Drive. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I don't like that the packaging isn't very good. I don't like that their last game, Switchblade, had a lot of bugs, a lot of crashes, basically unplayable, much to my dismay. And I don't like that a lot of people have said this, I think yourself included, that the cartridges run the risk of damaging your console.
Yeah, so I did want to be clear about that because I know you mentioned it in your last video.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a few different aspects of that. First and foremost, any cartridge, the actual cartridge, PCB itself, the board inside,
Yeah.
if that's not beveled, which means if you're looking at it like from this angle, it's got like a little curvature and a point to it. The reason for that is so when it gets inserted into your console, it splits the pins nicely. And if that's not beveled, if that's square, you're essentially just smashing those pins in. And that will absolutely wear the cartridge connector out far faster than with a beveled
Oh,
edge.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that is indisputable. That's anybody that says otherwise is just a flat earther, type of thing, right?
Okay, okay.
The other part of that is what is the metal used for the contacts, the fingers, if you will, on
Mm-hmm.
the end. If it's silver, that's nickel actually, and it's not really good at all for cartridges. You see them in arcade boards, but remember, arcade boards weren't meant to be constantly inserted. I mean, how many times
Mm-hmm.
even arcade operators that had candy caps and swapped boards, were you swapping them twice a day? Not constantly all the time.
Makes
So.
sense.
The best thing to use is hard gold, but a lot of people, in fact, a lot of people try to order that, but manufacturers just kind of skimp and put different solutions on there that kind of look similar, but that won't hurt your console at all. It'll just wear out the game faster. So that's not
Okay.
that big of a deal. Most of these go to collectors who aren't going to be playing them. It's not going to be like when we were kids,
Yeah,
when you have
yeah.
your family over and the console's going all day long
Makes
swapping between
sense.
games. So it could be done better. And then, of course, the last thing is the debate that, I feel bad that I didn't take the time to explain this in a different way, but that's the voltage difference for cartridges
Mm-hmm.
that run at a different voltage than the console.
Mm-hmm.
And when this first happened, my channel was very small. So instead of taking the time to be patient and just use some very good examples and make a displaced gamer style video out of it, I made a big joke about it, tongue in cheek. But there was still all good technical info in there. But it was just Renee and I being silly. And that was fine when I had 1,000 subscribers, but that video is still out there, and people are, now people might get the wrong idea. And the truth is that you're probably going to be okay if it's just a voltage mismatch,
Mm-hmm.
but you could lessen the life of the cartridge. There could be some issues, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like smoking, it's more like bacon. Bacon's
Okay.
definitely not good for you, but is bacon really the thing that's going to kill you, or is it everything else in your life? So it's more like that, I guess, and it's probably the best way I could use. So, but the point is that it all goes back to the people that spend the time to have good
Mhm.
quality products. If a lot of these old new releases, whatever you want to say, people take the time to have properly built boards. Even
Mhm.
Matt, the creator of Tanglewood, wanted to make sure that the cartridge weighed the same, so that anybody who's our age who opened it up could feel the way it felt when you open
Oh,
up a
that's
new game
awesome.
as a kid. Like, and at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't matter, but it's appreciated. So I don't
Agreed.
mind the fact that a lot of these things are very expensive. I just wish that you get what you paid for. So if there was a title that was $20 that had a label that looked like it was printed askew with misspellings and
Yeah, that
yeah,
happens.
stuff like that, then you know what,
The
whatever.
thing is, you'll actually notice the Pico's cartridges. They have misspellings on the actual cartridge mold, and not just one, like several.
Yeah.
Like avoid plastic is written plastis. Avoid is has a spelling mistake. There's like two backspaces instead of one between words. It's kind of weird.
I understand that there's always language barriers. Cheers, by the way, pour myself another one. But
Water.
there's always the chance of language barriers. But
Mm-hmm.
the world essentially has gotten much smaller. So it
Agreed.
does not
Agreed.
take much effort to just email that over to a bunch of people and say, "Hey, did I make any
Agreed.
mistakes?" And he's got a story that should be inspiring, right? Just I loved the story he told about starting the company, acquiring the rights, using the consoles from when he grew up in a different country, and it should be an inspiring story. I just you know
And that's the thing. It's when I spoke to him, I enjoyed our conversation, and it really seemed like he genuinely loves video games. He seemed like he has a positive attitude towards his products, and he seemed very passionate. Like, um, I don't really care for action figures, but he seemed really passionate about his idea of a toy line or an action figure line because he loved those toys as a kid. When he grew up, didn't really have the resources to buy him the toys he wanted, and I think that's a really cool story. I think the guy is passionate, and I think that he's trying to do a good product, but for whatever reason, in many ways, I feel he keeps missing the mark. But I can't really stay mad at a person. I don't know. It's. I'm not sure how to explain it. I can't really stay mad at him at the same time because I mean I keep buying the games, so and
Right.
not just to review them. So on some level, not only am I enabling it, but I am enjoying the game. So I don't know. It's weird. Like I like the game. I like what he's doing. I just wish he did some parts better. I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, uh, I guess when you're surrounded by a bunch of people that are really great at what they do, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to just do a good job. So you kind of have to set your standards higher, and
True.
maybe that's a part of it. But I just there's so many of these games where if you said, hey, everything showed up right, it was built right, but I just didn't like the game, that's fine. That's totally
Yeah.
cool. Or like the game was buggy, but it was it was an unfinished game kind of sold as is, that's fine too. But when it's not
But
advertised as that, I mean, they're too small of a company not to be transparent about that stuff. Like there was
agreed.
somebody selling a repro of an unfinished Jaguar game, which
Mm-hmm.
that goes to that whole gray area of was that legal, was it not, whatever. But the game barely worked. But that's why I bought it. Like I bought the prototype because I was so
Yeah.
curious to see what it would be like to play that game in its current form. So if I complained that it was buggy, that's my fault. But like if I got Tanglewood and it didn't work, that's Matt's fault. You know what I mean? Like, but it didn't. By the way,
And,
I'm just using an example, of
no, no, no.
course.
I know. At the same time, okay. We're talking about Switchblade. Switchblade was an Atari ST game or an Amiga
Hmm.
game, and they poured over to the Mega Drive. And in my video, I discovered the game had a lot of game-breaking bugs, and it was very crash-prone.
Hmm.
So I thought to myself, am I going to review it like this, or am I going to send a message to Pico first? And I contacted Pico, and they said, we're sorry, didn't know about that. So let me send you a replacement cartridge for free. And they did it. The issue is they sent the cartridge on October. I got it like in February. That's how long shipping takes and
Oof.
customs. Yeah.
I've
So
shipped
I was
stuff to
playing it.
Portugal before and it wasn't that bad. Is that a normal thing, or they just
It I don't know. Like sometimes it's super fast. Sometimes it takes a long time. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know.
weird? Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah. No worries. And the thing is, like, I was playing. So I was playing the game again. Seemed fine. Whatever. I was just about finishing the editing passes on the review, and then when I looked at my television, I left the game running. I saw the crash screen. I was like, oh god. So I started playing it again, and within 1 hour, the game crashed 4 times. And I was like, well, I can't recommend a game like this. So I recorded a very last minute addendum in which I said, don't buy this game because it's broken. And to be fair, to their credit, both Pico and the developer contacted me. They were saying, "Oh, we don't know about these bugs. Could you send us a bug report?" And I'm like, "Sure." The game crashed when I did this, and I got this bug when I did that. And luckily for me, I actually recorded most of the footage for doing those bugs. So I sent them like about an hour of footage, and they said they're trying to work on it, which is cool. But at the same time, it should not be the client doing the bug testing, in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
want to make sure we're clear about something. You didn't buy like an early release and get it before
No, no,
everybody
no.
else.
Final release, and that's
Anybody
the
who
issue.
bought this game has it with
That's my issue.
misspellings on the label and on the cartridge, and
Yes,
they have it potentially crash on them all the time. Now, there's always
yes.
things out there. There are certain revision Genesis 2s that crash certain
Mhm.
games. Like we've been finding that in the triple bypass development team. I say we, most of everybody else has done more work than me on that one, but I'm still in the loop for all that stuff. So there's always stuff out of people's control, but this just seems like the
No,
same
it
exact
is.
quality assurance testing. That's always a problem.
Exactly. Because if you bought the game, if you're just, like not a YouTuber, just a regular person, if you bought the game, you're gonna get a broken product and you have no idea that it's broken.
Yeah.
And people have to know because the game is expensive. It's pretty, for me, it's basically a full price game anyway. So and not only that, it raises a lot of issues because this was our first project in which they poured excuse me, an Amiga game to a Mega Drive. Okay, so does this mean if they port Switchblade 2 or Rick Dangerous or anything else, am I going to get the same issues? Because I don't want to have to pay $60 for a game that may or may not crash every half an hour, for example.
Right.
It's just and even for review purposes, I'm not going to spend $60 for a video that's going to make me like $2 at most. So I can't. I can't. I want to know that at the very least the game has to work. Like even putting aside the spelling mistakes, everything else, just at the very least, the bare minimum, the game has to work.
That seems like a pretty fair prerequisite for a game. Actually having it work.
I would think so. And I'm not saying this to attack Peco or anyone who works there or even the developers, but I think it's easy to someone to blame. Oh, we didn't test a revision. Oh, we didn't test. It's the developer's fault. It's the tester's fault. Look, I'm just a customer. I don't care whose fault it is. But this should not have happened. I've worked in the gaming industry for about 3 years, a long time ago. I actually did some bug testing when they needed some extra testers. I know it's a very difficult job. You have to basically push your game to its limits and see how far it'll go before it completely breaks down. It's not an easy task.
No, not at all.
But you have to do it. Somebody has to do it. It can't be me. And when I was playing the game, I was not pushing the game at all. I was just playing it normally. So who knows what will happen if I did try to push it, if I did try to intentionally crash it, if I left it online for like 5 hours and hit the reset button 7 times. That would be me trying to push the game.
Yeah.
Which I didn't do.
Yeah, I agree. Switching gears though, what's the opposite end of that? What is some of the best new games on old consoles that you've seen? The one that really hit me recently was Trophy. Ray Command just did a pretty good review of it that I enjoyed very much.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen that game yet. I know about it, but I need to watch it. Well, I know a lot of people will say Xenocrisis, which I enjoy.
I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm holding off to play it on a Neo Geo.
It's a very good game. My biggest issue with it is playing a twin stick shooter on a Mega Drive controller. It has a bit of a learning curve. But my favorite game has to be Tensor. I don't know if you've played it. It was released by what's the publisher's name? I'm trying to remember. Mega Cat Studios.
Oh, okay.
And it's like a bullet hell shmup mixed with Strider, I think. I don't know how else to explain it. The controls are like Strider, but much faster. But the intensity of the game is like a bullet hell shooter. Like lots of enemies, lots of bullets. It just keeps going.
That's really cool.
The games.
Did you review that one?
I did. I loved it.
I must have missed that. I'm sorry. Huh.
No worries, no worries at all. The game is graphically, it's not impressive from a traditional point of view. What I mean is, the colors are very faded, the animations are just okay, the enemy designs are kind of weird, very European Amiga game. If I can explain it, it looks very much like Shadow of the Beast or those very European Amiga games. But by God, the gameplay is amazing.
That's awesome.
The gameplay is just super amazing. I was addicted to that game. It's if that game launched back in the day, it would have been considered a classic today, in my opinion. It's really amazing.
Well, now I'm really psyched to play it. That's cool.
I heavily recommend it.
Got another one for my list.
Seriously good.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And sorry to just go back to a previous point regarding Peco. Sorry about that.
No,
sorry to dwell. Another thing I believe is that Eli should either hire a friend or someone who would do the PR for his company, because I feel he is very hot-headed. Oh, those H's, they're very difficult in English. They're very hot-headed because I feel if he sees something he doesn't like it, he'll reply it like instantly without thinking things through. This has happened when I said that I didn't like the covers for one of his games, and he left a very negative comment on my video like a few years ago or a few months ago.
Yeah.
And now with Switchblade, he was basically saying, "Yeah, we fired the Sega Man team," and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, what? Are you implying you fired like either a person or a team of people because of my video? Because that not only did it make me feel a bit uncomfortable because I felt directly responsible for that, it's also not something you should leave on a YouTube comment, I believe. And then like 30 minutes, sorry, I'm very sorry. And then
No,
like 30 minutes later, he was like, okay, so we talked with Sega Man, we're not firing him, we're not firing them after all. And I'm like, okay, that's good, but why is this dialogue happening on my video? Like, it
yeah.
doesn't seem like the right
That's
place.
incredibly unprofessional, and I can speak to that because I am so guilty of most of that. I've never wanted to be RetroRGB. I've always wanted to be Bob from RetroRGB, and I've made it pretty clear. But if you don't follow my channel at all and you don't know anything about me, I mean, not only do I have a hard enough time getting my thoughts out correctly, if you take a badly worded tweet out of context, so now there's two strikes against me altogether, and now you see retro RGB, you think, that reflects everybody, and it's so unprofessional. And I've tried so hard. I mean, all the mistakes I've made is still my hardest to keep my mouth shut. Like, that is, even with all the
It's
stupid
very difficult.
mistakes I've made and the things I should have either not said or taken the time to word differently, it's still, it's just, that's as good as I get. so, so yeah, that's something
It is difficult.
I've been trying to find the right time and place to transition everything over. With everything that's happening now, that got put on hold. But so when I criticize anybody about that, and I criticized, I mean, I don't. There's another company out there that I'm now, I guess you'd say, buddies with the person that I criticized because he did the same thing that I did, and that's why I'm okay talking about it because I've made the same mistake, so I'm not, up on a high horse pointing down at somebody. Like, we're doing this together, but it's a mistake that we shouldn't continue to make. And
Hmm.
my excuse is just there's already a plan in place. I just need other things that to happen first. I don't know what anybody else's excuse is, and I'm certainly not going to try to speculate. But everybody who has a company shouldn't be posting as the company, and
Exactly.
especially crossing any lines where you're talking about personal company business in a YouTube comment. Like, it would be different if Bob got on your channel and was
Hmm.
like, St1ka, I don't agree with that last point. You're a fucking idiot or something. Like, it's not a nice thing to say, but it's Bob saying
Because
it.
it's you, exactly.
Not retro RGB or not whatever
Exactly.
company it is. So, yeah, I trying very hard not to make that mistake anymore until I at least get switch over to only personal accounts or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an important point that anybody in a small business should make in any business. Doesn't matter if it's video game related. It's a little frustrating to me that social media rules are not real life rules. So if you choose to go into social media, you have to play by those rules or you're going to get eaten
Hmm.
alive, and there's
Hmm.
nothing you could do about it. It's just, if you decide to go and take boxing lessons, you can't get mad when you're punched in the face. That's what you're there for. So it's the same
Exactly.
thing. I can't get mad that of any of the stuff that's happened to me on social media because it's my choice to be there. But you got to play by those rules, or you're just gonna look like an ass, which I
Yeah.
have many times. So that's
We've
why.
all made that mistake.
So
Don't worry.
that's why I want to be clear about that. I am certainly not somebody pretending they're high and mighty. We're all in this
If
together.
anything, I've mostly learned to mellow down after the millionth comment I've received complaining about my accent on my videos.
You
So
know,
after you hit that millionth comment, you kind of go like, forget it.
I,
I
I
give up.
think I think according to social media rules, as a
Yeah.
straight white male American, I'm not allowed to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I always thought your accent was really charming. I always liked it. So, it's just kind of strange. I'm not allowed to talk about accents at all because what if I offend
Go right
somebody with
ahead.
that
It's fine by
accent?
me.
But it's a compliment. So if somebody is
Thank
offended
you.
that I'm complimenting your Portuguese accent, I don't know what I could possibly tell you.
Thank you. But I get a lot of things like from you sound like Russian to I cannot stand the sound of your voice to I can't understand you. I get it. I get the whole. And those are the nice ones. I'm assuming this is we have to mind our language here, so I'm not gonna say the worst ones. I
I mean,
I
there's
get
yeah.
some. as I say, I've gotten some really racist ones.
Yeah.
Those, well, not racist. Because I don't know what Portuguese, if whatever. Okay, xenophobic ones. I guess that's the term.
Well, it's all the same thing, and maybe. I mean, I'm older. I'm 38, right? So I was there at the beginning of all of this online hatred stuff before real people knew what this was. Us nerds were already in this. So maybe it's desensitized or something. But when I see a comment that's way over the top, it doesn't even faze me at all. Like, I don't get upset. I don't care.
I'm used to it by this point. I'm very used to it.
Yeah, the really bad comments. I'm just like, well, you've made it very clear that you're not worth listening to. I'm gonna,
Exactly.
I ban people. I know that's also against social media rules, but I've made the choice that the comment sections of my videos, especially the weeklies, have become very cool discussions about tech
That's
stuff.
cool.
Not everybody, in fact, a lot of people that comment every week wholeheartedly disagree with a lot of my opinions, but they do it in a way where they're not being an asshole. They're just being a person with a different opinion. Some people are harsher than others, but that's fine. I welcome that. So if somebody comes in and it's like, fuck all fat bearded Americans, it's like, no, you're banned. There's no part of that. Like, you're just trying to get attention. You're banging a pan and a spoon together just to try to get people to look at you when adults are
That's
talking.
why my comments won't show up on your videos. Okay, sorry, no, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, funny you say that. A couple of my friends, I don't know how, but I've accidentally banned over the years. And on Twitter, that makes total sense because mute this conversation and block are next to each other.
Yeah.
And very often I'm just like, cool conversation. It's got nothing to do with me. It's just clogging up my notifications, so I'll mute it. So a bunch of friends I've accidentally blocked, and that's embarrassing. But even a couple on YouTube, there's somebody that I talk to all the time on Discord that has helped my channel, helped my streaming, helped my captures. Somebody I hold very much respect for. And I was scrolling through, and I just wanted to check something, and I happened to see their name as blocked on my YouTube account. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? I want to hear what this person has to say. So I don't even know sometimes. So
You should message them and tell them, I'm too big for you, bro. I'm just too big for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stay in your lane, bro.
I'm not sure if we have that kind of relationship. That's something I would totally send to Jimmy because he would know immediately what I meant by it. But yeah, I don't know.
Stay in your lane, bro. Okay, I'm too big for you.
So anybody out there, if you were always respectful to other people and I've blocked you, it was not on purpose. Message me. I am so sorry. If you were rude to other people, if you were really rude to me, I usually leave the people that are just rude to me alone. But it's when I don't want other people coming in my comments and being attacked. That's not YouTube forces creators to moderate their comments. So I would rather just either walk away from it or just turn them off because I've been working insane hours for the past 2 years. I don't have time for this. So they're forcing me to go into the comments. So if you're forcing me to go into the comments, then I'm going to make sure it's safe for the other people that are there. And there are certain things I just never tolerate. I mean, I love and respect cultures from all over the world. Everybody's unique and different. Shit, people that grew up on 2 different streets in New York City have their own unique way of doing things. But we're all the fucking same. We all eat shit and die. Let's all just treat each other with fucking respect. So.
But yeah, to be fair, have you ever tried doing a sort of video that's completely different from what you usually do?
Yeah, because I tried a couple times, and once it really backfired on me.
Oh, what happened? I gotta know.
I did a video that was... I was trying to do something in the style of let's fail on purpose. So, it was a retro bright video, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, but I'd seen... I mean, there's got to be 50 to 100 videos on how to brighten up your yellowed consoles out there.
Okay.
And there was a guy who made a video about just leaving it out in the sun, and I disagreed with a lot of what he said, but it was a good interaction. It was all... I mean, I never said anything other than respectful, and I wanted to say, okay, let me go through, and I was going to do a series of videos failing. And then at the end, I was going to go and talk to people that are much smarter than me to explain what happened and then kind of figure out the best way to do it. And the moment, I mean, I think I turned the comments on approve only at one point or something because there were just so many people like, you're a moron. This other channel already did this, or well, of course your console's going to look like that. You're scrubbing it with a metal brush. It's like it's a plastic brush. It was so. Then I made that video where I took the parts that were left over and smashed it, which is still one of my favorite videos I've ever made, by the way. And I had people lose their minds over that.
Really?
Yeah, I lost a couple of Patreon supporters.
Really?
Yeah, people are up in arms, and I'm like, man, I'm the guy that started #NoCutMod. Like, I'm the one that's been trying to save these consoles. Don't you think I would have only used a console that doesn't have a single piece that's salvageable on it?
Salvageable.
And by the way, didn't you appreciate the 1,000 frame per second slow motion shots of what it looks like? Like, any nerd would at least take a look at that and be like, oh, neat. Like, so yeah, that one backfired on me big time. And at some point, I mean, back there I got a guitar and a bass. Mm-hmm. I'm not a bassist. I just keep it here in case I need to record a bass part. But
Poser.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't even have time to play guitar anymore, and that's something. I mean, I've been doing that almost my whole life. So when I somehow figure out a way to get more time in my life, I will be going back to doing some music stuff, and I will also be opening another channel to put the silly things that don't have a place on RetroRGB are different, stuff like that. And I genuinely don't care if nobody watches it. This is for me. So.
Fair. I do think it's worth experimenting. I've done some experiments on my channel, and yes, sometimes they completely fail. I'm still very sad that one of my favorite videos, nobody watched it. Like,
which
absolutely
one?
No. Okay, the reason why nobody watched it was the title, because it was basically a prank video. It was supposed to be an unboxing video of a JRPG. I think it was an how do I say this word in English? Do you know the Atelier series?
I think so.
The JRPG. Okay, there's one of the Atelier games. I bought the collector's edition, and on the back of the box, this is a game that came out for the PS4 or PS3, whatever. And the art on the back of the box, I was like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable with this. This is to you know how Japanese anime styles like to over-sexualize sometimes very minor-looking characters?
Yeah.
I was like, this is making me a bit uncomfortable. So I basically did a video mocking that, where I was unboxing the game, showing, there's the manual, the disc, whatever. Then I turned the box around, and the police start calling and banging on my door, and I start running. That video exists. Nobody watched it. I still feel sad over it. But on the other hand, some of my most popular videos have been like experiments I've made on the whim, like my Golden Axe video, which people still talk to about this day, and they call it one of their favorite videos I've ever made. And recently I reviewed video games in cartoons, basically video games that do not exist, but they exist within the cartoon. Like Batman was playing a video game, for example, in Batman the Animated Series. The video game in that cartoon episode does not exist, and I'm like, okay, so Batman is playing on an Atari, so the graphics are like this or whatever, and people really enjoy that video. Except YouTube, because then YouTube issued a copyright strike.
Oh.
But whatever. But the thing about experimenting is sometimes you get absolute flops, and I've gotten them. Other times you basically discover a new niche you didn't even know existed. And I discovered I have to make more videos where I review non-existent video games. I just need the time for it. It's worth trying.
Yeah, I think my biggest video was an experiment. I basically said, well, I got a green screen and I want to make sure I know how to use it. So let me take something that, that I'm not going to, I know I'm not going to spend 100 hours on, because many times I get sucked into these projects and I think, all right, I'm going to spend 2 days on it, and, a month later, but, and I set everything up, and all the facts in there are correct. I mean, it's not like I didn't half-ass it or anything, but it was an experiment just to see, like, hey, let me just do a video on Dreamcast stuff and include green screen footage and go from there. And that got 250,000 views. And I'm like, wow, it's pretty interesting. I mean, for me personally, though, like, I just, and this might be a selfish thing to say, and I'm totally okay with it, but I have to spend time on stuff that I love doing.
Agreed.
Because the amount of money that RetroRGB, and especially the YouTube channel, brings in pennies. I mean, I could just go shovel shit in the street and make more money than this. So I have to love what I'm doing. Otherwise, I'm just going to go
I
back to
make
doing
$30 off of YouTube,
Yeah.
so I know what you mean.
Yeah, I make
It's way in the red for me.
yeah, I make almost nothing off of that. But I mean, it's it's different though because also YouTube is what brings more people into the website, what introduces more
Agreed.
people. So it's worth it for me to do. I just I definitely I only have two speeds, on or off. I don't know how to pace
I
myself.
no,
So
no, I agree.
yeah,
I had the same issue, and like I wanted to do a video for April's Fools, which I ended up not doing. Though I am afraid I would have ended up in offending some YouTuber friends, but though that was really not the purpose. Basically, the video would have been like a 10-minute long video where I'd be saying things like, "Oh, this video was sponsored by Raids, Raid Shadow Dollar Shave Club. Do you want to order razors? Then go
yeah,
to stamps.com in order like just 10 video where I just make a huge jumble of all of those major advertisers, YouTubers promote, like Dollar Shave Club, Raid Shadow Legends, the Hello Fresh, and I like, and I just mix them all up. Like I'd say, Hello Fresh delivers razors to your door. Raid Shadow Legends is whatever is like food you cook on your stove. It'd be like a huge skit, but then I realized I didn't have the manpower to do that. It would require more, like at least two other people to help me with set up the video, and it's just me.
yeah. That stuff's funny too. But don't forget that the bigger your channel gets, that
Hmm.
the more that stuff affects people. Like there was a bigger
Yeah.
YouTuber that tweeted something about something really mean about people who have Patreon exclusive Discords. Like, oh, so you're forcing people to pay you to have a Discord, and I messaged them privately. I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, that's a really awful thing to say. And he was very like, what are you talking about? I didn't mean it that way. I'm like, yeah, you might not have meant it that way, but like, you got a
True.
huge following. So am I going to open up my inbox tomorrow and find like a bunch of people left because this one person who's famous said like that stuff happens, and it's just he didn't get
It
it
is
at
true.
all. But I was just like, look, man, if you think I'm being a dick, that's fine. But like
Well,
it's
thankfully, nobody knows I exist yet, so I've got that going for
well,
me.
I mean, you don't have a huge following, but I think the people that are subscribed to you really appreciate the stuff that you do, and I really hope that starts to grow.
It is, but like it's not a huge following, but it is true. I am glad that I have a very loyal community. So it definitely did not seem like yeah, I wasn't trying to pretend to attack my community or anything. That they're good people, but it's just I like making fun of my own community sometimes. And if you go to Discord, they're always cracking jokes at me, and I back at them. Like I actually the one of the running jokes on my Discord is that I'm the Russian bot who sabotaged the U.S. elections. So that's and my community will actually play on that. So it's fine.
If it's all in fun and it's in context too. If people are saying that to you on your Discord channel, that's funny.
Exactly.
They're obviously in on the joke. Then it's not like they're up on Reddit making a post about it or something. So
Which, to be fair, it has happened. Like,
yeah,
there was a guy who used to be my friend, but we haven't spoken in a while. And then I realized he made a parody account of my YouTube channel, where he basically just kept making like really mean-spirited jokes after we've stopped talking for like months. So that was not so nice. Not as nice there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's unfortunately, that's just what you're gonna get though.
It is true. It is. But oh well.
Yeah. Have you
Um,
had your content stolen? Have you had people re-upload your videos?
As far as I know, I haven't, but it is funny you mentioned that because I actually created a second channel where the only thing I do is I upload my gameplay footage. And the idea is to create like a sort of a video game library that content creators can use without needing to you credit someone or being accused of stealing footage. Like it's here, use it, whatever. I don't care.
That's really awesome.
I I just haven't promoted it yet because I don't feel it has enough content there yet. But that's kind of the purpose of that second channel. Just like video game library footage, use it, whatever, it's yours.
That's
I
really
don't
cool.
care.
There's a few people I know that have done things like that I think it's really awesome.
So yeah, like because sometimes I am in need of video game footage as well, and I don't want to have to go to play the game just to use like maybe 30 seconds of footage. So it's kind of like my way of giving to the creator community. I feel it. It's better for everyone if we help each other.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, but you're also talking to somebody who's had their stuff stolen since day one. My
Oh, okay.
favorite was it's a site that doesn't
Oh,
exist anymore, but somebody copied and pasted a full guide, and that's what made me
Jesus.
go. And it was something I worked pretty hard on, and that's what made me watermark all the pictures
Okay.
on. And I don't
Okay.
think I'm doing that anymore, and I'm certainly going to take the steps to never do that again. But this was right. You know, this is 3 years into the website. You know, I didn't. No one really knew it was me. They just knew a site called RetroRGB, and when I when when I watermarked the pictures, you know, I downloaded the image directory,
Mm-hmm.
sent them through an auto watermark, you know, re-uploaded, like changed the name, re-uploaded them, so it was the same file path, and that way I didn't have to go edit everything. Whoever
Oh.
copied and pasted the page didn't bother to actually download the page and re-uploaded it. So all of the links that they stole now had watermarked pictures on it saying RetroRGB. So
When it comes to blogs, it's much trickier because a friend of mine has a blog, and he then discovered somebody was stealing the images of his games and putting them on eBay and pretending they were selling the game.
ugh,
So they could, yeah. So he started doing watermarks after that, for fear that people I'm missing the word in English. Damn it, they might be they might be stolen. They might be fooled on eBay. It's not the right word, but I
no,
can
yeah,
think
I
of
know
it.
exactly what you're talking about. I've definitely had people use my guides and pictures on their eBay
Mhm.
auctions and make it seem like the mods came from me. And I think I've tried to reach out to those people and I never hear back. I mean,
Of
it's
course.
just it's part of the game, right? It's very frustrating because you know my goal is not to be a YouTuber. My goal is to run
Hmm.
RetroRGB, hopefully to grow the collaborations that does, and make a site with videos attached to it that is there forever that people could reference. And you know the new stuff is I think it's really beneficial to everybody. It's not, you know, a
Hmm.
news post that I write today about a pre-order opening tomorrow is useless the day after the pre-order opens, but it's still something that's kind of cool. But it just the amount of thievery from it drives me crazy. So I know that like if I wanted to be a YouTuber, I'd upload a single video a day and make sure there's drama in every one of them, and you know make
Oh
sure
God,
that I
no.
have a thumbnail where I'm pointing at the thing and I'm, you know, and it's just it's frustrating that can get a good thumbnail, some drama, and some bullshit can get more clicks than a lot of real
Ah, God.
content. But it
Hmm.
frustrates me even more where there's a few channels and I almost wish my friends wouldn't because it does nothing but aggravate me. But on a regular basis my friends will message me and be like, hey dude, look at this video, like this person's like reading your post off of the website word for word as they're making their own video on it pretending it's theirs.
Jesus,
They
really?
even used the wrong pronunciation or the wrong grammatical error that you wrote. They even said the wrong thing the way you wrote it. And I'm like, ugh. And there's one of them has almost 100,000 views and he does it regular or subscribers.
Really?
And it's like, I mean, what am I going to do? Like, you can't copyright strike those because you can't. There's no
Hmm.
automated thing for that. So I could try to file a lawsuit, which the first thing a channel like that would do, of course, is play off the drama. And now it would come flying back at me, like, look at this evil person trying to kill my channel. He's just jealous because I have more subscribers, and it's like, so you can't do anything. You gotta just eat shit and not say a word about it. But
So what I need to do is basically make a video after the interview is out saying, you twisted my words. This is not what I meant on this interview. And how dare you, Bob from RetroRGB? How dare you?
if you
Twitter army, go right there and then follow this
I
guy.
think you and Yahel should do that video together. I think that would be amazing. I would love that so much. But once again, I
That
mean,
CDI sycophant? I don't think so. Sega Saturn for life, bro. That's a joke between me and Yahel. Actually, me, Yahel, and oh God, I'm terrible with names. Jimmy Hopper.
yeah.
But me and Jimmy Hopper are Team Sega Saturn, and Yahel is Team CDI. and we're always making fun of each other.
So this is the truth. This is not a joke. I'm not being sarcastic. This actually happened. But my
Okay,
buddy Chris from Belgium got me a CDI, of top loading
nice.
to replace. I had to sell off all my stuff like 2 years ago, so I got it,
Uh,
almost all of it back. And he said, "Hey, it's console only. Is that okay?" I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. That's I very much appreciate it." So I went looking on eBay, and every couple of days I would search for power supply for CDI, all that stuff. And
mhm.
one day, an auction appeared for a CDI with a controller, the MPEG card, and the power supply. And it was like $200, but it was for everything. So it ended up being
Nice.
cheaper. So I was like, all right, screw it. Now I have a PAL and an NTSC CDI. Neither of them will read discs. I wanted to do a live stream with Yahel playing CDI, and neither of them read discs. So
Oh,
yeah, so I have to find the time to fix one of them and then do that. But
I have a theory regarding live streams, and that's Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong during a live stream, it will, and at the absolute worst moment, always.
yeah, I mean that's for me. Like when I played in bands, like that was just a normal occasion for me. Like that was just you're gonna have stuff happen. You're gonna have. I mean, one show we had a sound guy that he was. I don't know what drugs he was on. He was an older gentleman, so it wasn't like a kid that just like did too much blow or something. But he was on some severe drugs, and he kept just leaving. So mid set, like everything would be going good, but like anybody that knows sound knows, you got a room full of
Yep.
people. Everybody goes to the bar between songs. Now the sound changes and there's feedback when there wasn't. He's just gone. So like I'm walking off the stage,
Jesus.
like adjusting the thing on the soundboard. He comes back at the end, like before the last song. He just starts screaming at me randomly. Just like the singer in the band's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, it's just like that was one of the worst. But when you're physically standing there with a bunch of people watching you fail miserably, like you either crumble and you never do it again, or you just learn how to deal with that live. It's just one of those things. And for whatever reason, like the thought of that happening gives me so much anxiety. But in the moment, I'm just like, well, look, we're here. Let's just deal with it. So,
The thing is, it's not the thought of it happening that gives me anxiety. It's not it happening that gives me anxiety. It's the thought of somebody filming it, putting it on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, and then becoming viral. That's the one that gives me
so
anxiety.
that doesn't
That's
bother me. Taking it out of context bothers me.
Mhm.
So like that,
Okay.
like I got into an argument, and they were right, by the way. But I got into an argument with my bandmates about that same incident because at the end of the
Mhm.
show, like we stopped playing. I unplugged my guitar, and the sound guy starts yelling at me again. And I just laid into him, and I just because I don't like I'm not a tough guy. I don't fight. I don't like fighting any of that stuff. I had to do that way too much as a kid. But like, I'm not gonna take shit like that. Like that's not. I didn't earn that. I said please and thank you to everybody there. I tipped the bartenders like crazy. Like we did a great show. We didn't miss a note. Like I don't deserve to get screamed at because you're on drugs. And I'm fine with drugs, by the way, but do your fucking job, right? So I yelled back, and afterwards, the people I was in the band with were like, "Look, man, we saw what happened. Nobody else in the crowd did. So all these people know is that there was feedback the whole show, and then they saw you light up at the sound guy. They didn't see him disappear. They didn't see him twitching on whatever drugs he was on. They didn't see any of that other stuff."
Oh.
And that's the stuff that bothers me. The out of context, like if no one did,
Ah.
but if
Yeah.
someone
Yeah.
just had a video of me screaming at the sound guy after the show's over, they could create whatever narrative they wanted. They could have just said, "Look at this, loudmouth guitarist yelling at this poor
And
sound
then
guy," and
Yeah,
that's
it's
what
true. And
bugs
then
me.
and then Eli would write a better review of you on that magazine of his. That's true. Okay, now
Well,
I see the piece. Now everything's coming together. Now I see it.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, unfortunately, that shit's happened to me. I mean, I think it happens to most people, but that for whatever
Mhm.
reason, that out of context style stuff has happened to me my whole life. I
Uh,
remember from like, it's like the bully every single day. Smacks you in the back of the head, pushes you in the bushes.
yeah, yeah.
Does something, and one day you just turn around and crack them right in the face, and you look up, and there's teachers. And now the
And then
bully's
you're the bad
crying,
guy. Yeah.
going, "I was just standing here." And next thing you know, like parents are called, like, "I saw the whole thing. That guy didn't do anything. Bob just hit him right in the face." And it's like, it's not at all what happened. That is what you saw. You're
Oh.
not lying. That is exactly what you saw, but that's not what happened. There's stuff like that. I guess I've always been a sucker for that stuff. So I guess sometimes I haven't learned how to figure that one out. But that same scenario has always
Basically,
bugged me.
basically, you should try my strategy, which is don't have parents. That way they can't call you. They can call. I'm kidding. I do have
That's
parents.
funny.
I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, I had a few of those as a kid. That was brutal.
Yeah, I also had a few of those parents. Yeah, they were brutal. Sorry.
No, it was odd for me too because I was the fat annoying kid, so a bunch of times I
Oh,
totally deserved to get bullied 100%. I wish I was different. I wish I was different. I wish I wasn't so weird, but a lot of those beatings I took were helped me
be
be a
yourself, man.
somewhat better person to be around. So that's the other reason why it bugged me so much is the times that I got in trouble for doing the right thing like that. It was double time for me because it's no, this was the right move. Come
First
on.
point, be yourself. Second point, find that bully, show him how many followers you have on YouTube, and go I'm rich, man. I'm rich, bitch. I'm rich. I don't care. I'm rich. See?
If they're not a YouTuber, how are they going to know? It's funny too that I think I just talked about this with Yahel on his stream, but there's a lot of people that have a different perception of what income you make from YouTube. And even somebody I know, somebody I've known for a few years, made a comment a couple months ago, well, you got the YouTube thing going, you're doing fine, right? I'm do you have any
No.
idea how much YouTube channels pull in? Unless you're that person doing the
Pennies.
daily show, that's not even beer money. What are you,
You're making you're making pennies, literally. And that's not counting how much money you invest on YouTube, like buying
yeah.
your microphone or the video games for the videos or the recording devices. That's what costs money.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky in that most of the equipment I've bought for this, I've either used every day, so paying full price is fine, or I found good deals,
Hmm.
or I'll list it on the YouTube store and tweet about it, and people will buy it, knowing that they could probably get
Nice.
it a better deal elsewhere, but it's still cheaper than new. But they want to support. I'm very grateful for
That's
all of
awesome, man.
that. So I've able to turn around a bunch of things and figure out what's best for me. And anybody watching, I switched over to my GH5 for the me shots because I just kept, not to completely nerd out off topic, but anybody that shoots video the way I do, if you could have a keyboard and mouse control of the camera, life just gets infinitely easier. So that's why I'm selling my Sony camera, because I love the Epos Vox just did a video on a similar model about how much he loves it too, but you can't control it with your computer while doing the capturing through a capture card thing. So it's
I'm literally using a 2003 $50 webcam. So not even 50, but maybe $30 or $20 webcam. So there's a bit of a difference, a bit of a gap there.
yeah, I mean, I would never have spent this much money on a camera just for the me shots. You all know what the fuck I look like. I'm not worth $1,000 camera or something, or $2,000 whatever. But it's the same camera that I use for all the really important anytime I take footage of a CRT, that's when I needed a
Hmm.
camera that can frame lock to
No, it
that
makes
stuff.
sense.
And it's look, I spent all the money on the camera. Why not just use it for everything? So that's
Agreed. No,
why I
no,
switched over.
I completely agree. I'm just teasing you.
Yeah, but I mean,
Like,
respectfully, your videos don't need a super high quality camera. I mean,
yeah, but when I film myself, I tend to notice black marks on on the footage. I use my phone, so that's why it's not such a great
phone
quality.
cameras are great nowadays.
And it really bothers me, like when I see those black marks on the video. I've tried hiding them with filters and whatnot, but I can only do so much, basically.
Hmm.
So I'm actually in the market for a camera, just so that at least it won't show those black marks, which really bother me.
Well, we'll talk
I should.
afterwards because I can make some recommendations for you
Cool.
on your depending on your setup and stuff like that. And I'm confident making the recommendations because I've made a lot of wrong purchases in order to learn this. So
And I should probably buy a new microphone as well. I'm still using a Blue Snowball, which by now people have told me, "No, dude, you gotta upgrade. Blue Snowball is like the basic stuff. You gotta get something better." get a Yeti or get a
Yeah,
whatever.
so the thing that I noticed is the Snowball to the Yeti was a very big jump
Hmm.
in quality. I actually bought the Yeti
Hmm.
first, and then while it was still in the return period, I bought the Snowball. And
Hmm. Yeah.
but the Rode Procaster, that's the one that, because I have a very, I mean, I'm right by a window looking out at Manhattan, so like it's constant noise here. And for
Hmm.
whatever reason, that was better than even more expensive mics because it just cuts out a lot of the background noise. So that, it really depends on your setup, but mic choice is very important, and it's different. In most cases, it's going to be different for everybody, unless you're in a soundproof room and then just get what all the
Hmm.
pros get and whatever. But
Yeah. No, 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 no soundproof. Like a really regular house here.
yeah,
But yeah, I've been meaning to upgrade my stuff. Mostly, I'm just kind of waiting. Um, Basically, I'm leaving my Patreon alone and hoping it collects it builds enough of an income for me to get a better camera or a better microphone, or whatever comes first, basically.
yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I would do microphone first, just because that's your
Okay,
voice is in every episode. So like, you want to make sure
true,
it's always as good as
makes
possible.
sense.
I'll send you some tricks too. Epos Fox, man. I'm so lucky that guy is patient with me, because not only do I watch every video that's relevant to what I do,
Hmm.
but a couple times I've asked him for help on things, and he's always been very gracious with me. So I'll
Oh,
just
yeah, it's
pass along
awesome.
his tips to you, and it's one of these things where it adds like 5 minutes to your post processing, but it's a pretty big difference in quality. So
Here's what you should do: read his comment in a video, and including his spelling mistakes. Just steal his content, basically. Just do it.
he's one of those unique people where I don't think you could really steal his content. Same with John from Digital Foundry. Like, in the interview I did
Oh, I
with him,
love
he
those
just
videos.
told me how he makes his videos and told me how he does
Hmm.
the rendering and stuff. And it's kind of like Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan could walk you every step through a dunk, but you're not going to listen to that and go dunk. Like, so yeah, I find that with people that are really the top of their game, they have no problem telling their secrets, because it's like,
Hmm.
either you're going to do just as good as them and they have another peer to talk to, or you're going to try and it's going to be good, but you're not going to take any views away from them. So
Makes sense. That completely makes sense. Although if I was assumed like Michael Jordan giving you tips would be, no, I just throw the ball and it lands right where it should be. I don't know. I don't know. It just happened. See, look, there it is again. It just happened. I don't know how.
yeah,
Just saying.
depends on the person. I know a few people like that, actually, especially in the music world. I knew a few drummers that were just like, I knew a few that were super technical and could explain everything, and a few others that are like, you talk, music theory with them, and they're like, I hit things. What are you talking about? And they're still one of the best I've ever seen in my life. So
That's
some
amazing.
people just do. They don't even think about it. So what do you have coming up in the pipeline that you're okay talking about? I don't want to spoil anything for new
Well, I have a
releases.
lot of ideas. Usually, my issue is time. There's another Mega Drive game I want to review. The game is technically not even out yet, but I was sent the ROM. Called, oh, how do I say this? A Cargis Revolution. A Cargis.
Yeah,
It's basically a Mode 7 like game on the Sega Genesis,
yeah.
which is very uncommon for the system.
I believe
Uh,
Rare Smoke Monster did a write up of that
mhm.
on the site at one
Yes,
point.
it did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. I was hoping to get the like an actual review copy of the physical game, but they were like, we want to send it to you, but they're not ready. And with the whole Corona thing, we're not sure when this is actually going to be ready now. And like, okay, yeah, that's fair. That's more than fair, actually. So I want to review that. I also want to go back to some Portuguese gaming history because and talk about you know how Yahel did a game show recently, did a video about
Nick Arcade,
that
yeah.
Deck Arcade. There you go. Um, there's a game show, a video game show we had in Portugal, which is I don't know how else to describe it other than it was just complete lunacy. Basically, it was set in a post-apocalyptic future. Um, the host was like this chick dressed in leather bondage gear. They strapped kids like into cage matches, and then they literally strapped their arms and they couldn't move. And I'm like, this might be a video games themed game show, but there's a lot of BDSM overtones in this thing. and this was for children. Like, I gotta talk about this because nobody knows this exists. It's just so weird.
That's
So
hysterical.
yeah. Also, when the kid loses in the game show, he dies. Like canonically, he literally dies. They don't even try to mask it. Like, okay, so we're gonna send him into the overworld where he's gonna be devoured by the main bad guy, and then they do this animation, and the kid and the contestant is dead. So like, if he was your neighbor or your friend, that kid is dead now because he lost at Virtua Fighter or he lost at Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's
Like,
funny. I'm looking forward to that video.
like I want to make that clear. The issue is, and this is what I have the hardest part is, because it's a Portuguese game show, it's difficult to show footage or clips, and the viewer understanding what is going on. So I'll have to write subtitles, but even with the subtitles, I don't know how obvious or how it will come across if it's understandable.
If there's anybody that
my
can pull it off, it's
biggest-
definitely you.
I'll try it, but that's the hardest part. And I'm also trying to do a documentary on the Ultima series by Richard Garriott.
Neat.
Basically, I have a theory that the reason why Ultima died wasn't so much EA, but it was Richard Garriott. So not a lot of Ultima fans will be happy with that one. But I'm gonna try and back up my claims and hopefully not get burned on an effigy.
That's pretty interesting. Now the game Icarus Revolution, you said they were sending you a ROM before before you're able to buy the actual cartridge, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's my opinion, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this as well. But it's my opinion in a scenario like that, if you get the ROM first and it's not quite finished and there's bugs, that's totally cool. Just you've just signed up to be a beta tester and review it at the same time. Like, as long as everybody's upfront about that, I think that's totally
I
cool.
agree.
So
I agree. That is true. And honestly, even just and I'm totally okay with that. So this also happened with Pico. They actually told me, would you like to test some of our future releases? And I'm like, I have no way of putting them on a console because I don't have a flash drive. But if you send me the ROMs, I can put them on an emulator for whatever that counts. But I'll probably also have to do like at least a preview video or something, just so I also have something to talk about. And if a game has bugs, and like you said, it's not out yet, and if I find them, that's actually a good thing, I believe, because it means I discovered a bug that didn't know it existed, and hopefully it'll be fixed before people actually buy the game.
yeah, absolutely. That's something too,
So,
where
yeah.
like a lot of people I've worked with have sent me beta hardware to test
Mm-hmm.
before it goes on sale, and I'm always incredibly happy to help bug fix, to help do
Mm-hmm.
whatever time allows. I mean, in a perfect world, I would actually love to spend all day long just testing other people's stuff and helping them work it. But that's not how life works, of course. But yeah,
know what you mean.
when it comes to small companies, single developer type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy helping out, and it seems like you do too as well. It's only when like a company asks you to do that, and it's like, you have an R&D department. Come on, all right, I'll sign up as a contractor, fine, but like, you're paying me for this. I'm not dropping 30 hours of my time because you don't want to pay your R&D better. Like,
Exactly. That's actually a bit of an issue I always had with like paid betas or get like when people, okay, this is going back a little bit, like when people bought a Crackdown or Crackdown 2 for the Xbox so they could play a beta of Halo 3 and Halo Reach, I believe. And I'm like, this means people are actually paying to beta test the game.
yeah,
Like, they're supposed to be professional people who do that, and you're technically putting them out of a job, and they might, I don't know, it just seemed weird to me.
yes,
Like, you're paying to beta test the game. It seemed very, very weird from a ethical standpoint.
yeah. I mean, that's how, unfortunately, a lot of these companies operate.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you mentioned earlier that you worked in the game industry for a few years. Wait, would
I
you be
did.
able to talk about that at all, or is that like...
Sure,
Oh, okay.
sure. Absolutely. It was a very indie studio. They were big fans of point and click adventure games. Mostly Are you familiar with
Hold
the
on,
Sierra
could you
Online?
repeat that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for anybody, obviously we're on Skype, so unfortunately there's going to be cutouts. We're going to talk over each other now and then. Just
No
unfortunately,
worries.
we wanted to do this in person at PRGE, but with that canceled now, it's like we got to just make do with a crappy Skype interview instead. So
Yeah, and going from Portugal to the US is also really expensive. I've learned that the hard way. I'm
yeah,
still waiting for my return on my plane ticket
oh,
because I had bought the plane ticket for PRG. Um, so like the game company was called Phoenix Online Studios. They were big fans of Sierra Online. How familiar are you with their point and click adventure games?
I loved them
Like,
as a kid, and then the older I got, the more I liked playing guitar, beer,
well,
and other stuff more.
did you ever play Gabriel Knight, for example?
Oh, that sounds so familiar.
Okay. Well, they were the company who did the 20th anniversary edition of Gabriel Knight. They had also done like a fan game of King's Quest called King's Quest 9: The Silver Lining,
Oh,
and a
neat.
few other adventure games basically. And I was very freshly out of college back then, so I was like their social media intern, marketing intern, and basically the only reason why I didn't get them coffee was because I was working from Portugal. Otherwise, I'd be the guy getting coffee as
Right.
well. And it was cool because I got to see like how basically how the video game industry worked. Although it was from an indie developer stand from a point of view. Although indie enough to have like 15 people working, so not a the smallest indie out there. And it was cool because I got to meet like I got to meet Jane Jensen, who was the creator of Gabriel Knight. I got to meet some people who worked on Space Quest, on King's Quest. So to me, that was freaking awesome.
That is really cool.
With that said, like at one and like the games were all basically point and click adventure games inspired by Sierra, but eventually it got to a point where they were like, well, the Gabriel Knight remake didn't do too well, so we need to downsize, and that was basically the end of it. I have been thinking of contacting them again because I know at one point they were going to do a Gabriel Knight 4, which I don't know if anyone watching is a Gabriel Knight fan. But at one point the fourth game in this series was at least in development, and I'd like to make a video about it because I don't think anybody outside of that company actually knows that existed. And it'd be cool because okay, it's not as big as Monkey Island, for example, but it is a really nostalgic point-and-click adventure series that I enjoyed as a kid, and sadly, it's been mostly forgotten, mostly because Sierra Online has been dead for a long time.
Hmm.
But working for the video game industry, well, I think the most interesting knowledge or lesson I've learned is how easily people tend to blame or attack the marketing departments of gaming companies. Like, oh, this is a marketing stunt, or the game is more expensive because of marketing, or they chose this cover in its cities because of marketing. Oh, marketing did that. And after working there for 3 years, I'm like, oh, so that's why marketing does this. Or like, people are attacking marketing, but this has nothing to do with the marketing department. And
Yeah.
I've thought about like doing a video once, like basically demystifying or clearing a lot of misconceptions that people have with marketing within video games. Like they will often accuse Electronic Arts with reason for many reasons, and they'll say, "Oh, the reason why Star Wars Battlefront 2 has all these DLC options was marketing." And I'm like, actually, no. Most likely, it was either the sales department or it came from the actual higher ups or the project managers, not the marketing department, because this has very little to do with marketing actually. So I'd like to at one point at least try to demystifying some of those misconceptions.
Yeah, I think those are always good. I mean, there's always there's always the tinfoil hat flat earther crowd that's not going to believe anything, but I do think that it's important that people always give some kind of behind the scenes into stuff, and it's just
Hmm.
I don't want to go too far off topic here, but I see a lot of these people now posting videos of like, look at CBS, they're using footage from an Italian hospital and saying it's from New York, and this is a conspiracy, and why are they doing it? And it's like, no,
Oh,
I
I've
know
seen those.
exactly why they're doing it. They have some intern that they're not paying saying, hey, we need hospital footage. And I'm like, all right, you want me to go to the hospital? Well, you're not allowed in.
Basically,
Well, all right, let me Google hospital footage and stick it in this,
basically.
2-second segment, and that's it. And it's just, I wish there was more behind the scenes stuff like that, because I think,
Let me
just admitting, like, hey, we were lazy. We needed to get the segment out. It's not the
let
right
me give
answer.
let me give a very good example. Have you ever seen the somebody say, "Oh, the reason why this game didn't sell was poor marketing. If Ubisoft had done proper marketing for this game, it would have sold at least twice as much." And from my perspective, I'd be like, well, first of all, marketing isn't just good marketing doesn't just fall from trees. Like it's supposed to be like a long journey. You can't just suddenly 2 months before the launch of the game start putting out ads and expecting good sales. You have to create a sort of communication journey. Maybe as far back as the first day of development, for example, like posting teasers or whatever. And that can be difficult if your marketing teams are stretched. Maybe you have like 5 people promoting 15 games and something falls through the cracks, for example. Another point is that good marketing is expensive. Like the interviews or advertisements or the designs, and you as the company manager, administrator, director, whatever, might have to think, okay, so I've got a budget of maybe 2 million. I gotta divide this across maybe 20 projects. How should I divide this? Because I can't do it equally. I have to decide which one is going to bring the most results. And that's the sort of thing why it sometimes leads up to a game like almost having a stealth launch or people not even knowing it's out. Is it good that this happens? No, it's not good. But we don't live in an ideal world, and people usually have to split resources. That's the sort of thing I'd like to one day talk about. But I don't know how much of an interest is there in this, or it can also be very technical. It can also end up feeling more like you're watching a college lecture rather than watching a YouTube video. So that's why I didn't go too far into this idea yet.
You know what might be a good way to do that then, which would be a lot less effort for you as well, is just to find somebody that works in the marketing department of a current game studio and just have a conversation.
That's a good point, actually. That's a really good idea. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
I should look into that.
there's a lot of stuff I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I really want to do that it's just every video is like minimum 20 hours worth of work. Not the weeklies, the fancier stuff that I do, and it's just, I could just do an interview in a lot of them and it would be fine, but I feel like it deserves the treatment. And there's a few that are the opposite. Like I think the same amount of people would care if it was a super, high production video or if it was just exactly what we're doing here. So I
Yeah.
just, there's certain things that I feel like just getting the conversation out is good enough. But
Yeah, a lot of times I'm like, I have this great idea, but it's going to require a lot of time. So I'll just do a regular review instead. It's much faster, and I actually get something out because YouTube has the issue of you need to put a video out like at least once every 2 weeks, and I'm not even managing that right now. I'm managing like once every 3 weeks. So I'm clearly not following a good budget right now.
well, their
A good
algorithm
time
changes
budget.
all the time, and it's all based
True.
upon rules surrounded by people who make YouTube who try to make YouTube their full-time job. So it's not,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way to flag anything else. I think that should be, I've never written a complex algorithm before, so maybe I am completely talking out of my ass here, but I think it wouldn't be too hard to be able to integrate something where you could just tell people like well, this is a normal one of my videos, or hey, this
Yeah.
one's a really high production video. This one's important. Like, there should be some kind of way to do this without any human interaction, where you could just tell the algorithm, like, hey, man, this is something that more people might care about. Or if you're a channel that's only putting out one video a month or 4 videos a year, that should be looked at There's got to be some way to scan that video and say, do they put out 4 videos a year because they're sharing a video of their cat with their mom? Or do they put 4 videos out a year because they're 4 really high quality videos that not many people might subscribe to them, but more people want to see? There's got to be some better way to do it. Because it just...
I agree.
I don't know. For a billion-dollar company to screw up so much... It's like, if this was a small company, like, I would still have the same criticism. It just would be, well, but they're a small company, so let's be realistic about this. But they have the resources to do it right, but that doesn't make them any money, so why would they? All that makes them money is more clicks.
If there were, like, a proper competitor to YouTube, it would be better, but every competitor usually dies within a couple of years. Like, Blip TV died. There was another one whose name I forgot. Died within 2 years, and even when they are alive, they're the competitors. You get like, for a video where you get like 2,000 views on YouTube, you'll get like 20 on the competitors. So it's like, what's even the point?
So BitChute and Library are both out there now, and they're both awesome. BitChute's more of just a direct YouTube competitor. Library's trying to go about things a very, very different way, and I think because of that, it'll take them a little longer to become mainstream. But I love what both of them are doing. It's going to take time to see, but it is, it is kind of hard to get people to switch over. And another unfortunate truth is that usually the first people to adopt new platforms are nerds like me, who are like, oh, new platform, let's see what this could do, let's see how this works, and people that were kicked off the other platforms. So like one of my first videos on Library was just like, hey, I'm glad to be here, something like that, and I'll upload my content. And within a day, a flat earther took a snippet of that saying that I hated YouTube and put it in their video, and I'm just like, now I'm in a flat earther video? Oh, come on. So it is,
I had actually never heard of Library, but I did try creating a channel on BitChute, and I put the videos there. I spent like 2 days like uploading old stuff and just gradually catching up. And I noticed like they were getting like 0 views, 1 view, and I'm like, maybe this is actually not worth the
just
effort.
do the auto sync. Both of them have it, so your videos automatically get pulled from YouTube over.
Oh, they have
Yeah,
that now?
both do,
Okay.
and that way you could still be part of the platform. You could still be there,
Okay.
and but you don't have to. It's not going to take hours. But I actually,
Okay.
I interviewed the CEO of Library. I have, with all the craziness going on, I'm not sure when this is going to happen. But I had originally thought I was going to interview the CEO of BitChute as well. I just, it's not that I hate YouTube. It's just that when you put all your eggs in one basket, no good could come of that. So.
Yeah, that is true. That makes sense.
Besides, hopefully they'll have different perks for each. Like one of the biggest things about Floatplane that I absolutely loved was that it's a subscription service like Patreon, but they host their own videos. And their compression algorithm is way more forgiving than YouTube, and there's no ads. So anybody that subscribes to me on Floatplane, it's more expensive because it costs more for me too, so I'm not trying to jack the price up. But if you watch a 4K video on Floatplane, it's definitely better than on YouTube with no ads whatsoever. So if that's your thing, that's cool. But it costs them a lot of money to host video, so obviously their service has to cost a lot. So that's why everything's more expensive. But
Well, what's the name of that platform again? Sorry.
Floatplane, like a plane that floats.
Okay.
I don't understand the name, but yeah.
I gotta check that out.
Yeah, the crew from Linus Tech Tips are the people behind it, and it's just been the opposite experience of Patreon for me, and not the subscribers, by the way. The Patreon subscribers have been wonderful, and I am humbled by that every single time I do my Q&As. But the company Patreon has not been easy to work with, contradicting emails back and forth. They've been kind of a pain. Whereas Floatplane, like you talk to a person. And if you email with somebody and there's a problem, like you're treated like a person who's talking to a person. So I was very appreciative to be on that platform.
This video is sponsored by Floatplane.
Yeah, there you go.
Subscribe today. No, but I actually had never heard of that. I got or Library. I never heard of Library either. So I should check them out because
Library is totally free.
I didn't know BitChute had a sync option. So I'll have to check it out and see if I can if I can somehow activate that.
Yeah.
Because I tried to do it manually, and it was getting really tiring.
Yeah, if I had more time, I would
Yeah.
think that the weekly videos that I would do would all just be auto synced because
Hmm.
respectfully, like I enjoy doing those very much, but like you don't need perfect video quality for my weekly roundup. You just need to be able to see what
True.
I'm talking about. But for some of the individual stuff that I do, and same with interviews, this doesn't need to be flawless. I'm recording over Skype anyway. But some of the stuff that I spend a lot of time on, side by side comparisons, stuff like that. If you're watching it on your phone, it's always going to look like crap anyway. But if somebody actually sits down to watch it on a good computer monitor or a TV, I
Hmm.
want that extra quality in there. And I could be taking more advantage of the other services for that. It's not enough hours in the day to do all that stuff.
Actually, quick question: Do you do premieres, or do you still, or have you ever done premieres on
I've
YouTube?
done a few, and I really enjoyed doing them each time. But it's also a timing thing. Like I try to put out 3 videos a week: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Friday or Saturday, depending on
Hmm.
release date thing. And it's just you gotta, I'm premiering if I premiered a video on Monday. I got to make sure I'm sitting in front of my computer while it goes out, but I also need to write articles and make sure I'm preparing for the podcast
Ah,
and doing all the other research. So it's all just. I wish I could just press a big pause button, catch up with everything that I worked on, and then just have like a steady work schedule. But it's never gonna happen.
I've tried premiering, but then people kept telling me that when you premiere, actually you get less views than you would otherwise. So that always scared me a little bit because like people will get the notification for premiere, and then a lot of people either don't like premieres or don't like waiting or they get tired of
Or they're
waiting,
just
and
not
so
available when it's going up. Yeah.
yeah. So the theory that I've heard is that when you do premieres, excuse me, you actually end up getting less views than you normally would. So I don't know. See, that's why I kind of stopped doing it because I'm like, I already take like 3 weeks to put out a single video. I probably should not be hurting what little chances I have.
True. True. So people can find you everywhere as St1ka, St1ka. So that's Twitter, Patreon, your YouTube channel. Are
Yes,
you on other
yes.
social medias as well?
Well, I have a Facebook page, but Twitter, Patreon, and Discord also. Sorry,
Oh,
Discord
and yeah.
and YouTube are the main ones. Actually, just doing this. This is actually a story I like to tell because my name is my name is St1ka with one instead of an I. Um, but some people have asked me what does the word St1ka mean,
Hmm.
and technically it doesn't mean anything. It's gibberish. I just wanted to sound like a word, but it's actually based on the word stretch in Portuguese because of my height, which back in school I was really tall. So I'm 6'2" or 6'3", depending.
Oh,
I don't know
huh.
the exact scale from centimeters to feet. Um, so basically, Stika is just a mangled version of the word stretch in Portuguese. I just like telling that story
That's
because
funny.
sometimes I get asked what does the word mean.
I always like stories like that. My friend started a band when we were kids called Metadocs. I was in it for a while too. And
Okay.
he just thought it sounded cool. Thought it sounded like a metal band. And then somebody told him that I think in Greek metadoxa meant something. So he tried to tell people that that's why he came up with the name, but he didn't. He just thought of something cool, came up with a cool logo for it. That
Oh,
was
that's awesome.
that.
Anyway, man, I'm really glad to be on it and every man. I think we've been talking about this for a while, but I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah, I had really had my hopes up for doing it in person, but I mean, with how long that might take nowadays, I figured screw it. Let's just get you on here and talk to you and have a
Hopefully
conversation.
next year we get it. Next year PRGE is back, and I can actually go there this time.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks very much
It's
for coming
anytime,
on, and
anytime,
let's do a follow up at some point. Hell, I'd love to do a follow up in person, and.
anytime. I'd love to. Seriously, I wanted to go to the United States, like to meet you, to meet Ian, meet Yahel, Genovi, like meet Jimmy Hapa, meet everyone, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, hopefully soon. Hopefully this will bounce back.
I hope so.
All right, well, stay safe. Don't touch your face, and we'll see you very
Oh,
soon.
damn it. See ya.